Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back, everybody.
Please do subscribe both channels, EEARTS and also over on Evolutionary, where we'll be putting up a video later on today. And we want to thank you guys for your support on Patreon. If you feel so inclined, join us over there as well. There's different tiers starting at just $1 a month.
Mm-hmm. And I really do want to extend our appreciation for you guys, all of you on Patreon. We really appreciate, and we look at the names, we go through the names, and we're always sending energy to that force that is helping us. And we know that it's tight. We know it's very, very tight, and it makes that appreciation so much more. So thank you.
Yes, and also those that are helping on Ko-Fi as well, where you could do a one-time donation to support the channel, or you can do monthly just by changing the number of coffees. And do check out Medicinal Foods, Sky and everybody over there, good people. And really their first and foremost thought is, how do we help people maintain health or, get their health back in these times? They really, truly are not in it for the money. They're in it to try to help us get through these times and be able to achieve the best for ourselves. And talking about the best for ourselves, well, it sure looks like DC is heading down the gutter. As this is a tweet right here showing what's developing in DC. As we know, DC, well, I guess it is kind of the gutter, the sewer, however you would put it. I just personally cannot handle the energy there, but I've been that way for decades. It's bothered me going back into the 90s, and now it's not loading. It's not loading. That's interesting. Okay, they don't want us covering this. But basically what you got going there is a tent city, and we will come back to this because we want to move forward. And it's a tent city, very, very reminiscent of what you have seen in San Francisco and what you have seen in LA. When I first got to Sarasota, I was blown away by all the people that are living on the streets over there too. It's a very, very sad thing to see, and yet it's growing. And I can't even think of what percentage of the population is going to be eventually in a similar occurrence where you're living in tents. It's growing every day, as you could see. This is right next to, these apartments cost like 7 digits. They cost 7 digits. And here in the park, then you have people that, if you got yourself a $50 tent, you're doing better than most.
Yes, you are. And I mean, just look at this. This is so, so sad. And understanding that the monuments there, they do put off a particular vibration, and we know people that live there, and they are physically uncomfortable. It's not an easy place to do because of the frequency they are sending through that place all the time.
And again, a lot of people will find that what they have done in the past, they will not be able to tolerate anymore. And that might be the food that you're taking in. It could be where you're living. If you are progressing in this ending of a Kali Yuga, beginning of another age, then you're going to find that your likes, your dislikes, your wants, your desires, your tendencies, the things that you gravitate to are all going to be changing. And, for Cindy and myself, it's definitely been concertedly going in the same direction where we are unplugging more and more from the matrix. And I know at some point in time, when this mission of communicating with you guys is done, we'll be totally unplugged, and we'll be joyful about it. Absolutely joyful, because the system is set to catch us and trap us. And talk about the darkness in DC. Here you see Brigadier General Mark Kimmett. He's U.S. Army retired. Former Pentagon official tells CNN the U.S. should consider launching an end strike on Russia. You're insane. Again, this is a world and a system in which the darkest minds, the blackest hearts, the least compassion get you to the top.
Yeah, and that's really, really sad. There's so much competition, and people thrive off it, and it's glorified, and it's pushed along.
Yeah, it should be so recognizable, and more people are going to wake up and recognize the darkness of this system, and even their belief structures, which have been tainted by this darkness, which they, might have a hard time releasing in some ways, and recognizing that they might be thinking they're doing good and serving light, but in reality, no, they're still part of the matrix, and that's a hard thing to realize, because most people, they want to gravitate and go to church and this and that because they want to feel like they're contributing to bettering humanity. But when we look closely at our belief systems, when we look closely at what comes out of many pulpits and how they're tied hand in hand with the rest of the power structure, often infiltrated by these secret societies, which, we got 3 books in yesterday that are going to go deep into, discovering more about these secret societies on a much more detailed level. And, we kind of unplug. When you see that last video go up, we're unplugged for the day for the most part. And then, it would be playing music and, meditation and mantras, or just quietly reading for us with, the router unplugged, the computers unplugged, everything turned off, the cell phones in their, lead cases, because we understand that all this technology is all about entrapment of people and souls, truly.
It really is. And that's the sad part about things, because they use our own desire to want to be part of something bigger than ourselves, and they harness that and they point it in their direction. So the closer we can look at our belief systems and really get real inside of our souls and understand and be authentic, the better off we will be. We'll be freer.
So OPEC agrees to cut oil production by 2 million barrels a day, doubling the amount of barrels the Biden administration is releasing to keep the gas prices down. So strap in, gas prices are headed to an all-new time high. Yeah, again, this is all, it's just ebb and flow, it's waves. Don't think that the LOCK down is over. No, there's just a breather and things are still moving forward. Bangladesh, by the way, the national power grid collapsed yesterday, causing a blackout for 140 million people. After we put up the second video yesterday, I saw this, was tempted to do another video, but it's like, there's always going to be another major event that happens in these times. We're reaching a climax, and we are going to all new stages, as you see people trying to get by without any power. But you know what? Candlelight is just a fabulous way to dine, isn't? It's very romantic.
Extremely.
So why did it collapse? They didn't really give an explanation. All they said that there was a grid failure and it just kind of rolled on. And 140 million out of 168 million people in the country without power. The vast majority, like 90% of the people without power. And this is what a train looks like in Bangladesh. Now, this is your perhaps your commute to work in Bangladesh. Look at this. Holy cow. Absolutely. People do live in different ways in different places. And, it's hitting me when we might be thinking about, well, what's it going to look like in all the NATO countries, the US, the UK, and Australia, New Zealand. We might look at this and not feel like it's so unusual in the future. The seabed internet cable between Henningsvær, I'm not good with these Nordic words.
You can do no wrong, dear.
Oh, and Slavavær and Lofoten, Norway has been broken. Unknown reason for the damage. Well, this is the area. Well, this is exactly what goes on when you're having already this warfare well underway, and the world is at war. But then the world's always at war. Just look at your history; it's always at war. In at least the last 6,000 years, this is the way it's been. Russian fishing vessel currently loitering directly above where this, cable system is. And going back to January 22, it was severed and was suspected it was Russia. There's going to be a lot more outages, is my point. Yeah. Get used to this. This is one of those things. It might not be you or us, but somebody is going to have outages continually. And we have had some disruptions of service where service seems to be horrible, especially even on phones.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting because we're in areas where the phone signal should be good and still it's not. I'm not sure if you guys are experiencing the same thing out there. Please do share.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So Britain's sending warships to the North Sea to protect underwater gas and oil pipelines and internet cables from sabotage by the Ruski. And, of course, this is all after Nord Stream. And still, when I look at comments by people, we are so divided. People in the U.S. are, and in the U.K. and the NATO countries, the people themselves seem to be divided. Some people say, of course, the U.S. did it. Other people say, no, of course, Russia did it. Are you an idiot? It's that divide and conquer. Ultimately, both sides are trying to instigate this big change that's underway. And it is just a change. It's a shift. And here we see a tweet that Vladimir Putin may address the nation today to change the status of a special operation. What's that going to mean? The big thing now is, of course, they've annexed those 4 pieces of property per se. So technically, now that that's part of Russia, and yeah, some of it was part of Russia. If we go back and look at maps in 1792, you're going to see some of these areas were part of Russia. But then again, European maps constantly changing, global maps constantly changing. This is just the norm. It's always changing because there's always warfare and new conquest. But the big thing is it could change the legalistic way they're going to make this become a global war in saying that's a direct attack on Russia. And so that South Korean explosion that we were talking about, it was a missile malfunction and crash. At least that's what they say. So South Korea bombed its own military base when its missile failed. That's what they're saying. They're sticking to it. Very well could be. So what does that mean? Does North Korea have better technology than South Korea? You wouldn't think so. But then again, everything in this world, especially the system that's in place, is about deception.
Oh gosh, everything. You have to look at everything through that lens of your own discernment.
So U.S. is deploying aircraft carrier to the east coast of the Korean Peninsula after Pyongyang fires the missiles over Japan. And this is not really a huge move. It's the Ronald Reagan, which was basically on the eastbound side of Japan, now is going to come into the Sea of Japan and come off the coast of the Koreas. Just get a little bit closer if needed. Again, it feels like the fuse has been lit and we're all just guessing how long is that fuse.
So true, so true.
And here we see the Belarus Minister of Defense saying NATO is preparing for war. Well, yeah, war's totally underway. NATO has ramped up its presence by planting battle groups in Bulgaria, Estonia, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania, and Slovakia. And it's interesting that there was something that came out that said that they weren't going to tolerate the use of a certain word, and this is the word that it's based on. And when I say that, platforms, again, like YouTube and other platforms, Facebook and Twitter, this happened before the war broke out. So again, it's like they know, of course, they've war gamed everything. So they know what's to be said. And of course, the man in the middle here, he's come out and said that this is a Russia against this word. This is a battle that Russia is fighting against the N word. And, it's just interesting to see that. And of course, big tech came out and was basically saying, we're going to be watching when you refer to things in that term.
They're definitely putting that out there that people are being watched more and more.
Absolutely. And there was a lot of watching going on in many different places, during Stalin's purge, Mao's purge. On and on it goes, on and on it goes. All these rumors in World War II, as we talked about. We saw big trains like that, like we saw in Bangladesh, carrying people en masse. Don't worry, honey, they're really going to a nice camp. It's like a summer camp. It's a vacation camp. I hear they have amazing showers.
Oh, beautiful showers, yeah.
But then the reality hits later when things have already transpired. Explosion at Bulgarian firearms factory kills one. Nothing to see here, right? Couldn't be. It's leading manufacturer of firearms in the area. Yeah, we understand. Again, this is that covert warfare going on. Kiev offers White House targeting control for longer range weapons. How much is this a middle finger in the face of Putin and Russia when Kiev is saying, oh, do you want to target that? Do you want to go maybe another 500 kilometers and we'll end up shooting it inside the Russian territory? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do that for you since you're giving us so much, equipment.
Yes, they'll play nice. Mm-hmm.
The Ukrainian government's prepared to give JB's administration virtual control over its selection of Russian targets. How can we not see this as a huge escalation? This is, again, this is like stepping on somebody's foot, and he turns around and looks at you, and you double middle finger him. Not only that, he goes to walk away, and then you moon him.
That's terrible.
I mean, yeah, you can't make this up. It's obvious what's going on, yet U.S. Army recruitment falters, misses goal by 25%. Well, let's see Mrs. Gold by 100% soon, because what we need is the people of the world to recognize, do you think you're going into the U.S. Army to serve the people of the United States? You're not. And people started to wake up in Vietnam, and now we need to wake up totally. These wars are all contrived. They have one goal. It's all about consolidating riches, wealth, and power. It has nothing to do with helping the citizens of the U.S. This is going to do quite the opposite. This is going to end up costing the citizens of the U.S. their sons and daughters and husbands and wives.
It is. It's really, really sad.
And just 5.6% of offenses in England and Wales in 2021 to 22, about 1 in 18 resulted in a charge and or summons in the cases of burglaries. So it's almost like, it's like hitting the lottery if you actually get somebody to come out and listen to you if you've been robbed. Crime is going through the roof, and here we see this new move they're going to do is going to see officers always make a visit to victims of burglaries. Well, we'll see about that. Where are those people going to come from, too, is the question. Schools in the Czech Republic, their kids are bundling up because they're turning the thermometers way down. I did have one boss that I used to work for, and he used to keep it frigid. I mean, we were in a warm location, typically, and he would keep it like in the low 60s. And he just thought it made us sharper and more productive, even though it made everybody kind of miserable, and you're dressing like it's winter, even when it's summer. Well, here again, this has everything to do with the shortages that are underway that don't have to be.
I would think it would give you a good eye for a nice blanket.
And we have a string of whale deaths in southern Argentina. It's worried scientists who think microalgae could be to blame. And so at least 13 southern right whales died in Nuevo Gulf, close to Valdez Peninsula in the Patagonia area, which is a sanctuary area and a breeding ground for them. It's really, really sad. But what Cindy was seeing is this is more frequency related, and it could actually be some sort of weapon going on.
Really, really sad, because frequency wise, and then also what's going into the water is like something that double got them, frequency and then being sick. They're doing the exact same thing to us here up in the surface.
Turning up the frequency, which a lot of people can hear. And the northern hemisphere snow season's off to a near record start. Cold September across Scandinavia. October, snow hits New Zealand. Antarctic air approaches Australia. record cold New York City, and a 30% chance of an X flare. Ah, yes. The sun is wakening up, absolutely, and it's also helping us to wake up. Yet the tendency, even though we've been told already, if you go back to listen to what Al Gore had to say, we should have absolutely no ice caps now on the planet at all, and all our coastal cities should be under 200-300 feet of water, but it's not even close to that. And in fact, snow is building in certain areas, and in certain areas it's not building. And the thing is, I don't think we have to worry so much about an ice age killing us all. We don't need anything that's going to attack the food system any more than it's already being attacked. And an ice age is worse for the food supply than going the opposite direction. And of course, the tendency, it seems like, is it's always going to make it tougher for us when it comes to the food supply. So, again, something to watch as, we're all getting blasted now with the climate change, and that's been underway for a long time. There is an earthquake swarm under Laguna del Mole, and this is in Chile. And so far, the alert level remains at green, though, but it is a swarm of 330 quakes. And we will see a lot more volcanic activity coming, absolutely. The most important thing to realize is you cannot wash glyphosate off food because it's incorporated into each cell of the plant. This is Dr. Jill Carnan. And glyphosate is, again, when you buy something that's not organic, you could be pretty sure you're going to get toxins in there. And it's not the case that you could just simply, I'm just going to rinse this and we're going to be all good. No, it's in the cells. When they spray this stuff, it goes into the ground gets watered, the roots take up the water and the chemicals. You eat the food, even if you washed it as much as you want, you're still taking it in. You wonder why cancer is through the roof.
I know. I mean, we can't really put it through any kind of filtering system at all because it's just grown in. Like Mike said, it's, they water, it goes into the dirt, it brings it up from the roots. So, you might think, well, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just get this stuff. It's cheaper. It really is a big deal. It really is a big deal because it can send you, going to look for Western medical, and that's not going to help you at all. And you're going to lose money through co-pays and various things, and they're not even going to give you anything that's actually going to help you. They'll slap a Band-Aid over the problem, but that's just going to build up and make you sicker.
You eat something, right? And it's genetically modified, or it has these types of toxins and carcinogens in it. Your body goes into a state of inflammation and allergic response. You think, I got to go out and I got to get something to help me with this. Let me take some Benadryl. Let me take some Claritin. Let me take some whatever it is. It just stops the symptoms of the allergic response so that your nose isn't running, your eyes maybe are not so puffy, your head is not aching. But it's still all throughout your entire body. The inflammation will cause issues even when you're not feeling the symptoms so much anymore because you've put something into your body that's going to mask some of those symptoms, but the inflammation's still there. And that inflammation is going to cause disease. Disease is disease. And that's still going to affect you. And then what happens is, our bodies won't be able to, as we're exposed to more and more and more, we can't get rid of it. We can't purge it. And Cindy and I, we really clean and we do regular purgings. And yet if we get behind schedule on some of our regular purging, which mostly it means fasting and a few other practices as well, then we'll feel the buildup and we'll start to get some of those symptoms. And again, me personally, I don't take Benadryl. I don't take any of these things because I used to be dependent on them. And I remember those times when I was dependent on them. And as you get off, you gain more freedom and more clarity. And you recognize, wow, Benadryl, for instance, now I could recognize that when I took it, all those years ago, it was turning me into a zombie. Now, the choice was, trying to get through a day or suffering so bad that everybody knows you're miserable. But the key is switching. And, I admit, there was a time when I'd walk into a store and I would be like, well, these strawberries are 2 for $4. Those organic ones are $5 for one, and you would just grab for the 2 for $4. You think, well, that's crazy. Yeah, but you're eating this stuff. And this stuff is a known cancer causer. And it stays in your body. Where does this store? So much of the toxins are stored in your fat cells. So, I started to slowly think about things differently. And now I don't ever consider, they could have buy one, get one free, and I won't buy it because I don't want any more glyphosate in my body.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, after a while, after you purge and you become clean, all your cells clear out too, because the body's having a conversation with everyone and everything. So as the cells clear up in the body, your whole body tells you, no, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to do this anymore. So it really kind of, I guess some people, you could call it willpower, but really what it is just a bigger conversation with your entire body saying what it wants to do, what's better for it. So we really got to listen to that voice.
Absolutely. And here we see a Hercules statue approximately 2,000 years old discovered in northern Greece. Researchers believe the statue was adorned in a building dating from the late Byzantine period, 8th or 9th century AD, for buildings during the Byzantine period. And the thing that hit me about this statue again is the size of the lion compared to Hercules. Lions are much bigger than that compared to the average person, but it's amazing again how reflective it is of this one. Now this is Gilgamesh holding a lion under his arm, so it appears that if we take this literally, Gilgamesh is even bigger than Hercules. And the story of Gilgamesh is an interesting one. He's a young prince and everything, becomes a king, and it's all about these, it's Genesis 6, and it's all about these demigod beings, and they are all different. Again, we have this tendency, there are some circles where they'll say, hey, they're all Anunnaki gods, and they'll show the Enlil and Enki, but then they'll also show Thor and Odin, and then they'll show maybe Lakshmi, Vishnu, and Shiva, and maybe a Native American who's revered, like White Buffalo Calf Woman, or Aset, Isis, and they're not all the same. And again, there's so much distortion going on. It is very hard to sort all this out with the distortion. But again, our history has been rewritten, and we should recognize this. The things that are the most easy to find are going to be the most distorted. So there again, the most published books are going to be the books of the controllers. And we have to go deep to start understanding. And it's been so twisted that the controllers feel like you'll never know. You'll never know. But they talk openly about this in places like the Skull and Bones Society. They talk openly in Bohemian Grove and other places, again, where, the mysteries are all shared, and they basically laugh at people that they feel that they've gotten one over on us.
Mm-hmm. And that's really, after a while you realize that, and it sinks in, and you just get more and more irritated as you wake up. You become more irritated. And I guess that's why when we cover this type of information here, we do our best to cover everything with some type of positivity, with some type of silver lining, because it is important to understand what's going on, but how it strikes you and how you take that information in is also important, because you don't want stuff to pull you down. You want to just have an understanding. And then with that understanding, act in a way that's going to benefit you.
Absolutely. We have been told, birds can't be too smart. They have a tiny brain. It's like the size of a pea. They can't be too smart. And we've been told that there's big differences. Only man's created in the image of God's source. But nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, we can learn some from the animals, and some of us have a lot to learn trying to fit things into where they don't belong. I mean, the animals make us look bad a lot. And in many ways, they are way more connected to source than we are. Way more. They understand a lot more than you would think. Yeah, sure. He probably, that crow can't talk to you about quantum physics, but it has no need to. It's living its perfect existence. Meanwhile, humanity goes on struggling. We have a lot to learn from nature all around us. And again, our life should be like this. It should be all about play. It should be about having fun. It should be all about exploring. I mean, like kids. Again, you must be born again. In so many ways, what they're talking about is you got to wipe out the conditioning. This system conditions in a negative light. And so, there was a comment saying, well, none of us want a nuclear war, but, it's whatever the Father has planned for us. Well, that Father is not the source of this universe. I mean, the source of the universe didn't create beings to be tortured. I mean, if you have any sort of awakening in you, you'll recognize that. And if that doesn't come to you, then there's a lot that needs to be purged and detoxified from the system. Again, the source of all this creation wouldn't just choose just one little tribe of people and say everybody else is going to be damned. I mean, it's just so obvious. It couldn't get any more obvious. It's part of this system. It's all part of the divide and conquer. It's all part of saying, hey, you're the chosen now. You're the chosen. And go push those people off the cliff because you're the chosen. No, that's not the way it's meant to be. That's a total distortion. And, if you're talking about, what father is that? Well, that's the father of lies. And again, really, that is totally what we have with this draconian system, which cannot give you truth straight out.
It's really disturbing to understand that when you're talking about the Bible and you read that about the Father is an alien God, and they do not have your best interest. What they're interested in is complete control. So, it's so simple to step away from this control system. Even if you're looking at videos like this with these little kitties just playing, that releases happy hormones into our body. That releases hormones that are going to sustain us for a little bit longer, no matter how difficult things might seem. So we have to make that extra effort to find happiness and anywhere we can. And it doesn't have to be super difficult. It can be just watching this.
Absolutely. So may you be blessed by the true creator of this universe. May you find that love and peace in your heart that creator has for all of us, because that creator does not want us to suffer. Yet there is free will, and there are those that basically impose their will on others because of that free will. So if you truly are of the light, then help to spread the light and help to waken as many as possible. Keep sharing your truth and keep, facing down the fear that they are trying to build within us, because this is a temporary ride. Ultimately, we are consciousness itself, and so we go on. Even though this particular vehicle might not go on, we do go on.
Indeed.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.